Hey guys, I have Reed Davis, the head of our FDN practitioner work. He created the FDN program and he is my mentor. Oh, I just see a coyote walking by here. Let's hide out in my glass house here on top, the hilltop, and you're down in Lakeside, California, not outside, you're inside, safe from the wild animals out there. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. We have plenty of coyotes here. We also have mountain lions.
Oh, mountain lions.
So they love the deer. The deer have propagated very nicely in the area, and that brings in things that feed on deer.
That when you see a mountain lion, do you run, or what do you do when you see one?
I've been here 4 years and I've seen two. Both of the times I was driving in my car and kind of snuck up on them as they were playing in the road or whatever they do there. And it was just at dusk. You know, they come out at night. You won't see one in the day very much. But they're just looking for things to eat. And the people, fortunately, are not on their regular menu. So
yeah, well, I bring that up just because I saw a coyote. It's 10 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, why do I have a coyote outside my yard? But it's just talking about stress today, tying it together into our conversation about being fit and healthy from the inside out. And I think we need good stress and bad stress and be able to respond to stress, running from that mountain lion or that cougar that's in my backyard, and knowing what to do when you need to be activating that stress response system. And when we know when we're doing it too much for that chronic stress. We're going to talk about external chronic stressors and hidden internal stressors, because the athlete, as I was just saying to you, I think we often think that we're invincible. We're superhuman. We work out, we can ride, bike, run, we can do triathlons, marathons, and we're healthy. But that's not always the case. So Reed, what do you think fit and healthy means?
well, it's a matter of balance and resiliency. So if everything's in balance, you're in good shape. You should have a lot of resilience. That's kind of how the human body works. Cells and tissues and organs and systems, whether it's your endocrine system or your digestive system, detoxification systems or circulatory or whatever it might be, there's balance. And so you're balanced like this, but there's also resiliency. You can stretch it a little bit and it should come back. It's when you stretch it too much, you start losing that resiliency. The snapback doesn't happen as much as you'd like, or to the degree you would like it to snap back. So balance in all of our systems, whether it's acid alkaline or sympathetic parasympathetic or what have you, that to me defines health. I try to remain balanced and maintain that resiliency I need, so that when I do get pushed, I've got that stretch. Like if you never stretch your body, if you never stretch your hamstrings, and you go to do something and you put too much strain, you're going to pull that hamstring. Whereas if you've been there and done that before, you're going to have more resiliency there, and you're not going to get injured. I pulled my hamstring just a few weeks ago, wake surfing, and it just the technique wasn't right, and I know exactly what I did wrong. But if the water hadn't been so cold and I had it warmed up better, I probably would have had more resiliency within that system there that kind of failed.
Yeah, and that's a great example. I think a lot of athletes, don't realize that there's more reasons to having their fitness levels improving longevity, their performance, and that think that they can train and they're fit, but they don't realize there's other things. And that's why, how many years ago? 8 years ago, I created the holistic method, working on 8 elements to really be fit and healthy, working on the whole athlete from the inside out, and then really want to do the FDN program because I felt like there's these hidden internal stressors we have no idea about unless we test them. And I think we're always guessing that we're fit because I can go for a bike ride and feel great, but there's also sudden times that we can't perform, or we're more fatigued, or we're starting to get these random symptoms of doing too much that we don't do anything about it. Instead, we just exercise more and ignore those red flags. So what are some red flags of people, probably more specific to the athlete, when they're doing too much of something, that they could be signs of metabolic chaos?
Oh, I think there's hundreds of examples. Energy, for one, comes to my mind. Clear thinking, feeling rested, being able to work hard and play hard, both. There's so many. I mean, physical activities. If you're hobbling around, not obviously something is wrong. Let's throw it out there. Sexual activity and things like that. Vibrancy in all areas, like mentally, emotionally, physically. I think that it's all could be very challenging. And for the professional, or especially your extreme athletes, and my son's one, he works out all the time, but he needs to rest. I mean, the guy will go 6 days a week and then crash for a day, think that's okay. That's not okay for when you get to my age. You need to intersperse your rest periods in a much more healthy and balanced way. And so I think that it depends on if you're being competitive, like how extreme are we getting here? I'm not a competitive athlete, very competitive, but not in that way. I'm always competing against myself, is the way I like to put it. And so if you can get more specific, like what area might you be talking about?
Well, so I want to kind of dive into people that overtrain and under recover, as you're talking about, and let's go into the signs as they're doing all the right things and they start to have this internal breakdown and burnout. So for example, I was doing Ironmans and marathons and long distance endurance events for years, and then started to gain weight. And I was doing all the right things. I was doing the low heart rate training, fasted morning workouts. I was doing strength training and yoga, but then I started to feel tired and need naps. And it took me a long time to recover. And I started to have this like body composition changing. I was losing muscle and gaining fat. I felt like overnight I gained 30 pounds. And I think, there's all these signs, but there's something happened probably 5-10 years before that it just didn't happen overnight.
Yeah. What comes to mind there is sort of back to the idea of balance, but the body really needs to rest and recover. And it's not all the time doing the right things. You've used that expression a couple of times. It's also don't do any of the wrong things or keep those to a minimum. So again, you're talking about balance. There's people who like extreme sports type people. Again, my son's been teaching me how to wakeboard. He got a new boat and he's all showing off and everything like that. It actually wake surf, where you toss the rope and you're just surfing on it takes a body that's in really good shape to do that and sustain yourself with the balance and strength and flexibility and endurance. Because believe me, your calves and your thighs start to burn real quick, like when you're skiing or something. And so it's also not doing the wrong things, like skipping sleep, eating poorly, not resting properly. Besides sleep, you gotta just sometimes take a break. Too much alcohol, there's a lot of things you can sort of overdo. When you're an extreme person, you might think about what you could cut back on, and that would help you a lot. Detoxifying, do a detox, and these kind of things, and get balance back in. And again, we're not getting really too specific here, but to do that, I'd give you my acronym. It's HIDDEN. Your hormones want to be in balance. Your immune system doesn't want to be overactive or underactive. So that's a balancing act. The digestive system, you have to be really breaking down and absorbing nutrients. Doesn't do any good to spend all this money on fancy organic food if you're not breaking it down and absorbing it and getting the nutrients out of it that you need, the amino acids, the essential fatty acids, the vitamins, the minerals, the trace elements and things. So there's the hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification is huge. You know, some people are beating the crap out of their livers and they don't know it. That affects the kidneys. That affects a lot of things. You know, and then of course, energy production is huge. And people often aren't quite familiar enough with what's going on at the cellular level, the way energy gets produced. Matter of fact, extreme athletes, they tend to know a thing or two. And a lot of your personal trainers stuff, they do know about that. But are they doing everything that you want to be aware of? You know, all the antioxidants and things that you've got to have going on for good energy production. The right combinations of protein, fat, and carbohydrates are immensely important in terms of the cellular energy. And last but not least is the nervous system. I could add oxidative stress too, but hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, and nervous system balance. I tend to lean parasympathetic, unlike you might think. You know, a lot of busy people are very sympathetic dominant. I resist that. I take deep breaths. I let my parasympathetic kick in. I like to digest my food really well. You know, the rest and digest. I like my sleep, rest and digest. They also call it feed and breed, you know, so you can't do reproductive acts and digest your food real well when you're sympathetic all the time. You've got to be balanced in that area too. So hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous system balance. You could throw in oxidative stress. That's a mouthful. There's a lot going on there, but we're fairly complex beings, and you know, we're in a fairly complex world. The environment, let's just say it sucks, you know, and so it's our innate intelligence and genetics versus the damn world. And you want to be up on things. That's a broad view, I know, but that's how I like to think of it. I think in very broad terms.
Well, I'm kind of generalizing and start just, and then I think what I'd like to talk about is tie that together with what we do and why we do it as FDN practitioners. We look at these external stressors, and that could be over-exercising under recovery, but what you just mentioned are the hidden internal stressors. Hidden stands for what you just went over. And I think those are so important to evaluate, because an athlete is often looking at their performance gains that year and not looking at their future self. So we're all focused on burning fat, getting lean, getting strong, getting faster right now in my, present day. But what about 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now? What am I going to be doing? How am I going to be living my life is what I'm stressing to athletes. Like, what you're doing now, how is that going to impact the future you? And that's where I think being a FDN practitioner and helping those individuals who are struggling getting those desired results, who are trying to do all these right things they hear about from their coaches and from articles and social media, but they're not getting those results because there's other things going on. And that's where we come in to investigate what's going on and individualize their dress. We'll talk about health protocol and look into possibly doing lab testing and really find out what do we need to do to be the best version of yourself, to move your best, perform your best, look your best, and age your best, right? I think we stand apart.
Yeah, you ended on the testing, which is probably where I would start. I like getting objective result. I like to know something about a person from the inside out. So I do test the hormones, the immune system, digestion, detoxification, oxidative stress. These things can all be measured. And you can't measure every underlying cause. Some are not measurable. Some underlying causes are very far removed from the actual dysfunction. The symptoms are way over here. Where the hell they're coming from. And it could be any one of those things. And that's why we use a big, we want a whole constellation of objective markers. And then we want to apply the general principles of health building to all the imbalances or lack of function that we find simultaneously. See, most of us aren't physicians, so we don't want to diagnose and treat anything medically speaking. I don't like singling out one ailment. That's too easy. Hey, write a prescription. Yeah, that'll take care of it. Yeah, right. Or cut the part out. There's another good one for you. So we want to look at we look at our lab work as healing opportunities, and not just one. I'm not going to use and too many practitioners are trained this way, and it's to guess at which one lab to run. So they'll say, oh, that sounds like a thyroid problem, or that sounds like a parasite, or something like that. And they could be right, but they're really just guessing based on the symptoms that it sounds. And you know what? They'll strike out more often than they hit. And unfortunately, when they do hit, they pat themselves on the back. Well, I'm getting pretty good at this guesswork. And then they're helping that person self-treat, or if you're licensed, you can actually treat that situation, that problem. And guess what? They only get a little bit better. It doesn't address everything. People in bad shape have multi causes, and you need to be able to address them all simultaneously. That's why DRESS, what you mentioned, the DRESS for Health Success program is so successful. First of all, it encompasses all the epigenetic lifestyle factors. DRESS stands for diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation. That pretty much is your whole life, and all the sort of things you can do to have an effect. And so you want to look at things that way and not treat individual specific things. So we run multiple tests, which becomes a challenge for some people financially, or just getting their act together. Hey, we're going to work on it all at once. How does that sound? Actually sounds pretty good. Let's work on it all at once. Well, you need a system for that. You can't just, pull it off the internet. You're going to find too much conflicting information. Believe it or not, Debbie, not everything on the internet is 100% accurate.
Really?
wouldn't imagine that, but so anyway, so we use that investigative system. We look at HIDDEN. We look for all the multiple healing opportunities, and then the way we apply healing principles to all of it simultaneously is with that DRESS for Health Success program, and it's always customized to that person. We match up their test results with their presentation, so that it explains why they feel so crappy or having trouble in one area or another. And it actually doesn't matter if you're an extreme athlete or if you're an old lady sitting at home. You got to do the same things. The principles of healing apply. My mom is 91. She's still following the DRESS program that I gave her 15 years ago, DRESS, and it modified a little bit. And she's gotten older and fell down some steps. I mean, stuff happens, but the principles never fade. They never go away, and they always work.
Mm-hmm. I think the hard thing is that you have to be motivated to make those changes. And I know I was one to blame when I first had my adrenal exhaustion, air quotes around that. In 2013, I went, from top age group to not being able to do anything in months. And I saw, say, 9 different doctors, practitioners, functional medicine people over the next few years trying to get that magic pill. They all did the functional labs, or, doctors said, nothing's wrong with you, give you an anxiety pill, trying to get this problem solved. Like, why do I feel like crap? And why can't I do anything? I'm so tired and fat and I have no energy. But took me years to figure out that I had to do the DRESS, that, I was taking just supplements thinking that would be a part of it. And I had to change my whole life. You know, I moved to San Diego and I had to change my job and to focus on being a practitioner. It took me that long to figure out that it's not just the supplements, it's the DRES part of it, that you sometimes have to make huge changes in your life to really get the desired results, the positive outcome.
Well, you've done a fantastic job, by the way. And I'm glad you're in Southern California now. It is almost always beautiful here. I see the wind blowing in the bushes behind you. And well, we live, what, half an hour apart, maybe.
Yeah.
It's the same thing out here in Lakeside, although the sky's a little bluer here. But yeah, it's winter. And we have all these opportunities to work on ourselves, being in the business that we're in, and we're supposed to be setting an example. You know, a lot of people want to help others, but they're not willing to walk their talk. And, you know, my buddy Paul Check, who, you know, he lives really close to you, by the way, says you can't share it if you don't wear it. And I've always loved that. Or you at least are on the pathway. So I'm certainly not perfect by any stretch. I've got way too many old sports injuries, which is, I wanted to mention that just a few moments ago when you were talking about, boy, I wish I knew then what I know now.
I have a t-shirt that says that, by the way.
Yeah, what I would have not done. I mean, I've had, you name it, from surfing to motorcycle to wrestling. I did jujitsu for 15 years, and man, you get tore up doing some of these things. I didn't quit jujitsu till I was well into my 60s, and was still the strongest guy in class, you know, or at least at my weight, which is pretty hefty. But I'm just saying, I'm not perfect. I've got issues. I'm getting stem cell treatments for my neck and both shoulders, my left knee, my low back, you know, just everything I can to try to shore up what I screwed up years ago. And that also applies to my liver, because in my 20s, well into my 30s, I had my own furniture refinishing shop long before I got into, I always, you know, had health books and tried to be athletic and stuff. But, you know, I tore my chemical, that's where I learned about these hidden internal stressors and the functions that they can damage. I still don't know I've fully recovered from the chemicals that I used to work with. And it's been 40 years, you know, just almost 40 years since I quit. And I'm sure there's still some remnants, something hidden somewhere, or some loss of function in some cells somewhere that, again, is still, you're not perfect, you know, no matter what. But as long as you're on the pathway, and you are, Debbie, this is what I was alluding to, you're on the pathway, you know, as helper people, we have our own steps to climb. And we see people who have a lot more steps to climb. They haven't even started climbing yet. And we help them up the stairway as we continue on our own path. And I don't know anyone at the top of the stairs in all these years. Do you?
No, it's definitely an ongoing process. And, you know, life happens, and people probably struggle more the past couple of years with COVID, staying at home, and lost their routine. And I think a lot of people maybe take one step forward, two steps back. And I think that's why, you know, starting a new year, doing a quarterly reset reboot is really important part. And I'm very passionate about getting people to test and not guess, and figure out, okay, am I doing everything I can to be the best version of myself now, so I can do all that stuff when I'm older and not be like people I know that can't walk very well and get around without, you know, having to have their back hurt and sit down every 5 minutes. So I think it's an important part to look at our future selves and be taking ownership of our health now as athletes and non-athletes, instead of waiting until you're broken.
Yeah, well, you mentioned, I call it the new C word, the crazy that happened recently. You know, it's just really up to the people. This is such a word to the wise, if you will, is to maintain balance and resiliency, where we started the conversation. What is good health? It's balance and resiliency. And that resiliency needs to include being able to stretch your immune system a little bit. I haven't had a cold or flu in 10 years. I can't remember the last one really. And so including the crazy, I call it, the new C word, crazy. The crazy thing, I'm sure I've been exposed multiple times, and just for whatever reason, resiliency. Okay, and I always like to knock on wood and stuff like that too. I'm blessed, and yet some people aren't, and they get it, and it has a really bad effect on them, and it can kill the wrong person, and that's never a good thing. But yeah, the idea of maintaining, what can you do that next year and the year after and the year after and year after. I'm almost 70, but I plan on being around for a long time more. So I follow my dress program, and that includes, the one S that I really focus on a lot now is stress reduction. And like not watching TV, and not doing dumb shit outside. I have a lot of property, and I have guys working, and I can get out there. I get on a shovel with them, or whatever it is, hopping around the property. It's all hilly and mountainous and big rocks and stuff like that. You can twist a knee, an ankle. You can go down and trip. And at my age, you don't want to do that. Although my bones are really strong. So reducing stress. First of all, getting out there is reducing the stress of sitting in my office. But then you've got the physical challenges and things. We have snakes like this big around and this long out here, We're always, getting rattlers. And then you got the mountain lions. When I first moved here, I had to go to the fire department and get them sign off on some stuff so I could get fire insurance. My regular homeowners would not insure me against fires, which is too dangerous out here. So I had to go get special sign-offs from the fire department. And the guy says, "Oh yeah, you live over there on Vicente, right? On the other side of the gate." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh," he goes, "if there's a fire there," he goes, "just leave. We're not coming." Because he said, "Just leave. We're not coming because there's no water here. Everyone's on a well. There's no hydrant for them to hook up to." He said, "Just leave. That's why you're getting this insurance." He says, "The other thing is," he goes, "watch out for mountain lions. They like the old and infirm." So I had to bitch slap him for that. I'm kidding.
That's
But
funny.
no, he said that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're stressed and you handle it. You just take a deep breath, or 2 or 5 or 10, or do it for 20 minutes, and meditate a bit, and really let this parasympathetic kick in, and you'll get direction from that. You'll get a sense of peace. You'll get a sense that everything's going to be okay. If you want to take a nap, take a nap. But everything will be okay in the morning. I grew up believing that, and it's true. Every day I wake up and I'm breathing. I'm working on myself. I'm on the steps. I'm not at the top. and I'm helping other people up the steps, and we're doing pretty good. And we've helped a lot of extreme athletes, getting back to your topic. Mostly it's getting them to realize that they are vulnerable, that they're stretching, that resiliency, they're really taking it out there. And if they do it too much, it won't snap back the way it used to when you get to be my age.
Well, that means that hormetic stress, right? We want some stress, turn it on, turn it off, but not that constant chronic. And I think cardio over 45 minutes, I've heard gets to be chronic cardio. And a lot of endurance athletes are training for hours cardio. That is an additional source of stress if you do it too much. And if you don't find that balance to how to recover from that, so you can do it again the next day, and they end up doing it day after day after day, like anything, and it becomes another source of stressor, not a positive stress.
Yeah, I don't do cardio. I do work out really hard, but it wouldn't consider it cardio. Cardio is staying within an aerobic threshold, and it actually works out better for your cardiopulmonary, which is why you do that kind of exercise and endurance. you need to go supra aerobic. You need to go above your threshold as often as you want and as often as you can, 3 times a week, do sprints, like exhaust yourself completely, get out of breath. That's what long distance runners do in the off season. Cause I wonder sometimes how they don't have heart attacks. They're staying in this aerobic threshold and they're trying to increase it, by training for it so that they can run for 2 hours. Well, it's not a natural thing to do. And you're actually deconditioning the cardiopulmonary in the long run. When it's demanded of you that you go supra aerobic, you could have detrained your body to be able to do it by too much aerobic exercise, cardio. So some's okay, but you need to go supra aerobic quite often.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of aging athletes need to do more strength training. So alternating, doing their cardio more in the minimalist approach, we call it, for endurance training, and doing more strength training and doing the HIIT training is good, and yoga, mobility work. But tying that back to the DRESS protocol that we teach people, working on their diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation based on our investigation with the lab testing. The diet part, I think, is important to touch on. And we did past podcasts last year. We can find the links for the show notes for that on metabolic typing, really personalizing nutrition, because it isn't one size fits all approach. We are called the Low Carb Athlete Podcast because a lot of athletes do not need to be eating high amounts of carbs, as we were once told, to keep us going and eating 500 calories every hour, versus we should be burning fat when we're doing a long aerobic exercise session. So athletes and non-athletes, their nutrition should be real food, nutrient dense, and to balance it. But we kind of can individualize it even more, looking at their genetics, looking at metabolic typing, looking at other clues to what is the best food for that person's body, and really get that to be less stressed on their body. Because I think a lot of athletes eat whatever they want because they just worked out.
Oh man, diet is a two-edged sword for sure. Yeah. And getting there's just generally speaking, I know we talked about it on the last time I was with you here, but it's really critical to have energy production down. You really need to be producing a lot of energy for mental, for physical, even emotional, depends on your energy levels. So that's happens in the cells by getting the right fuel mixture, your protein, fat, and carbs, for the most part. Generally speaking, you could argue this different ways, but and if you get the protein, fat, and carb ratios down, and right for your metabolic type, your genetics, you have a good chance to and this is how I judge diet, does it make you feel satisfied? Is it completely satiating, or you feel like something was missing and you're craving? Well, that's a sign that you don't have your macronutrient ratios down. Add in a little more fat and see if that satiation occurs. If you're fully satisfied, you're not craving, you don't think anybody's missing, 90 minutes to 2 hours later, you probably ate a decent meal. That's one signal. Now, you also have to have simultaneously, besides that satiation, energy, like good, solid energy, not the kind you get from coffee where you're weak underneath or nervous or something's going, I'm talking about a solid energy. We feel like you can get all your work done, or get all your playing done, or get all your training done, and you're still not craving anything. So you have the satiety and you have the energy production. And believe it or not, your mood depends on food and eating those right ratios. And I'm not talking about, your boss pissed you off, or your spouse or kids or whatever, money, any minute. I'm talking about if things are just going along and you're cranky for some reason, well, it's probably hidden in the wrong diet. Macronutrient ratios is the best place to start. You can fix that too. So you need to be fully satiated, no cravings. You need to have lots of good, solid energy, enough fuel in the tank to get to your next meal. And you need to have a sense of well-being. Shouldn't be moody for no reason. again, if you got a reason, I get it. If your mom just died of shit, you know, okay. But otherwise, you got to be in a good mood most of the time.
Yeah. And those are
And
great clues though, to how you feel. And I think a lot of people don't put all these different symptoms together, pay attention to those red flags, like, I'm bloated or gassy, but what about your mood, that I'm grumpy, irritable, short tempered, that's a sign eating the wrong foods for your body.
yeah, so eat all the right foods, give your body everything that it needs, genetically speaking, all the, again, the amino acids, essential fatty acids, antioxidants, phytonutrients, vitamins, minerals. Your body is designed to, it requires all of those ingredients. And it's different for different people depending on where their sort of ancient where your genes came from, because different geographical areas of the planet had different amounts of minerals in the soil and the animals that ate them that you ate. And so it's bred in the bone. Now you either eat that way or you will pay the piper. As my friend Bill Wolcott, if anyone wants to read about this, buy his book. It's called The Metabolic Typing Diet by William Wolcott. And it's really explains it to you. So I live by that code of eating, living, code of creating my own environment.
Yeah. Which labs we run, some main labs, most everyone of FDN practitioners. And one of those includes like a food sensitivity test, or I like doing the food zoomers, vibrant wellness. I just did the wheat, dairy, corn, eggs on myself. And I think it's so important because you think you're eating all these healthy foods, but there might be some healthy foods that aren't so healthy for you as an individual and can contribute to additional stress coming into your body.
Yeah, you're so right about that. And I should have mentioned it's your correct diet for your metabolic and genetics, your metabolic type, minus whatever sensitivity will pop up for you. And they do change. But I remember so clearly so many cases early on where we just got the person on the right diet, minus the foods they were sensitive to, and miracles occur. I had a lady who spent 5 days a week in her dark room with a pillow over her head with migraines. And within a really short period of time, I had another lady who got hives all over her body. And she had been taking steroids for 2 years and was unable to take a hot shower or work out to perspiration for that 2 years. And it gained 40 pounds because of the steroid for her hives. And I said, well, did you ever try to figure out why you get the hives? And she, what? You know, like her doctor never mentioned it to her. So within just a couple of weeks, she had no more hives, got off her medication, and could work out to the point of sweat and take hot showers and unbelievable. One last story is that what just really has just so prevalent in my mind and memory, and why I do a food sensitivity test on every person, young or old, was we were working with this lady in the office, and she asked me, did I work on kids? And I, at the time, was coaching football for 10 years. And I said, yeah, I work with kids all the time. And she said, well, her son is being sent home from school. They want to put him on drugs. They tell me he's got ADD or ADHD and that he should be on a drug. At the time, Ritalin was the favorite. And I said, well, let me ask you, do you think your son has a Ritalin deficiency? And she cracked up. She goes, no, I mean it. Like he's going to get kicked out of school. I said, well, how old is he? This kid was only 9 years old.
Oh.
And I thought, you're kidding me? And so we just ran that food sensitivity to, actually I ran two. There's different types. And I said, we're going to run 2 different food sensitivity tests. We're going to get them off all the red foods. Within 2 weeks, Debbie, the principal of his school called me and said, what'd you put Billy on? You know, like as if it was a pill.
Yeah.
I said, I mean, he tracked me down. Like he called the mom, said, I want to talk to this guy that your son worked with because he's a different kid. He's no longer poking around and, you know, distracted and bothering other children and loud outbursts and all those things. So I'm glad you mentioned food sensitivity testing. It's been it's been so rewarding. Makes you feel really good when you get changes like that in people.
Yeah, I wrote down I want to do a podcast or read even an article on ADD and ADHD, because I hear so many clients say they've been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, and anxiety issues. And I think that's a whole topic to dive into another time, but I think there's so much to it. That's
Listen,
the why.
I want to caution just a little bit and say that, we test every client, no matter what, young or old. But looking forward, I don't know who is going to help the most, because those food sensitivities could be playing a very large role. They're a very big contributor to that metabolic chaos that the symptoms come from, or it could be playing a little role. And so you don't get that huge of a change. It depends on, but you test every person, because looking backwards, the results with some people where that food sensitivity is playing a huge role, it's really critical. It's just been miraculous.
Mm-hmm. So the next, we talked about exercise. So diet, rest, sleep. We talked a little bit about that. Third one, exercise, and then stress reduction. Supplementation, people, take whatever different things they read about, but we really personalize what their body needs based on investigating with the functional labs and creating this whole dress protocol. Because I find a lot of people try to out supplement poor lifestyle habits. And I also say out exercise poor diet. So we need this holistic approach and looking at all these lifestyle nutrition program and the supplements. But I think a lot of people just try to do like one and think, all right, I'll take this and I'm fine. But how do we as FDN practitioners create that individual's protocol so the supplements are really what that person needs, and they're not always forever, but maybe just to get them to repair, rebuild, reboot?
That's really a good question. And I can tell you that that's actually where I started in the health and wellness business, was in supplements, because I was trained to do allopathic nutrition and supplementation, which is just relief care. It doesn't really fix anything. It's, matter of fact, it's the same thought process as medicine. So initially, when I was trained, and this is very good for supplement companies, by the way, you're saying, well, what are your symptoms? Well, this will help. Or what medication are you on? And this will be the natural solutions, because people back then didn't want to do drugs either if they didn't have to. So you're kind of substituting the supplement for the drug. The problem is drugs take a teeny tiny little bit to work, and supplements take a whole lot to work. And sometimes you need to build up an accumulation to get the effect, but that's still allopathic wrong thinking. It's just symptom relief and just symptom care. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to feel better. Like relief care is not the devil. If women with hot flashes, let's say, you better offer something or recommend something that's going to help them with their hot flashes, or they're going to go down the street and they're not going to stick around long enough to learn the whole program, to learn, well, what's really involved and what are the underlying causes, what are the underlying conditions. Where's the stressors? Are they mental, emotional? Are they physical and trauma? Or are they some, biochemical internal type stressor, toxin, or something being produced or stored in your body? So there's lots of ways to figure out what's really wrong. We have that system of running all our labs and things. That's how you really determine what needs supplementing. Is it vitamins, minerals, the essential fatty acids? You need, we call it the 4 S's of supplementation. So relief care is fine. You could do something a little while to feel better. We're not against that. But if you want to really resolve it long term, like you say, restore, rebuild, repair, and so on, you want to look a lot deeper. And then supplements become a tool. They become part of the bridge to get you there. You might, first of all, and this is why you might take supplements for the rest of your life, by the way, substitute for what's missing in food. So the first S of supplementation is substitute for what's not in your food. Food sucks. Food does not have the vitamins, minerals, and sense of, all the stuff in it like that it used to. My grandfathers both grew food way up in Canada where I grew up, and it was rich in all these things. Today it's all farmed. It's all about getting it to market, looking pretty. And even organic food doesn't have that much more nutrition in it. It just doesn't have pesticides and herbicides. That's why we eat it. It's what we're eliminating when we eat organic. But so it doesn't have enough nutrients in it, so we substitute by using supplements. So that's the first test. Also, some people come to us and they're not in perfect shape. They need support. It could be digestive support. It could be adrenal support, and other types of hormonal support, or and these things, detoxification support. So you have substitution, you have support. You also have stimulation of certain things, which comes in really handy these days. Like you want to stimulate your immune system, your natural immunity. You want to build up your secretory IgA in the gut and other immunoglobulins, killer cells, all these different parts of your immune system. You can stimulate those. If you're going to get on a flight, it should be more than just wearing a mask, which, well, we won't talk about.
Don't go there.
It's going to be stimulate your immune system, your zinc and your echinacea, your things like that, that actually boost you up. Reiki, there's different things you can do or take. And then the last one, it kind of reverts back to the relief care, self-treatment, the last S. So you have your substitute what's missing. You have your support systems that are weak when you come to us. You have your stimulation of certain things, functions in your body. And then the last S is self-treatment, where, that person doesn't want to take the meds. They want to see if they can repair it themselves. The supplementation part, that self-treatment, is only part of the program. You're going to have to eat right. You're going to have to rest, go to bed on time and things. You're going to have to exercise. You're going to have to reduce stress in every way that it can be identified. And you're going to have to take your supplements. Then the self-treat, that's how you self-treat. You do all of it, not just the supplement. Like you said, one of the worst things you could do is use it to counter some bad proposal. I just thought of this football coach I worked with years ago. I went to his house once, and I knew he was diabetic, and I just went in his fridge to get something to drink, and there's this in the freezer with some ice cream bars, and I said, "What are you doing eating ice cream?" Or maybe it was a key lime pie or something in the fridge, whatever it was. I said, "Dude, what are you doing with this? I know you're diabetic." He goes, "Well, I just take an extra diabetic pill when I'm eating the pie or whatever it was." Dude,
that's what the TV tells you to do on those pharmaceutical ads.
You know what I tell people like that? I'm sorry, I can't help you. He's like, "What should I do for this and do for that?" I'm like, no, I can't help you, man. You misbehave.
Yeah.
And you'll blame it on me when you can't meet my behavior requirements.
So the last couple minutes, what would you do for clients who are trying to, work on performance and longevity? What top labs do you like to run on people, on your clients?
Well, I use saliva testing to check the hormones, and part of the immune system, secretory IgA, melatonin, things like that can tell us a lot about you, hormone, immune. Digestion, of course, we're using a metabolic wellness panel, mucosal barrier assessment, these kind of things, making sure you're breaking down and assimilating. They have a good, healthy microbiome and a good, healthy mucosal barrier. This is an excellent way to have good digestion and liver function. Knowing that you're detoxifying, that's reflective of a lot of other detoxification organs. Oxidative stress, because if there's a lot evidenced, your mitochondria can be being damaged and you're not producing energy at the right level, you'll feel like crap. So again, it goes back to that hormone immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production. A lot of that is the oxidative stress and just the metabolic typing test, like, hey, if you're not eating like this, you're not producing energy at the right rate or quality or quantity on a cellular level. And then the nervous system balance, mostly that's through questionnaires. There isn't a big lab test for us for that. It's knowing whether if you're overly sympathetic, or being overly parasympathetic can be evident in appearing lackadaisical, like unmotivated, like you're happy just sitting on the fence. And I used to be, as a kid, my mom would say, I would love just sitting we had a real long driveway, and I would sit at the end of it and just watch stuff happening on the street. It wasn't much happening, but I was happy, and I would be thinking about stuff, very parasympathetic. And my mom would say, hey, Reed, why aren't you doing something? I'd say, well, I am doing something. I'm sitting here thinking. To me, that was doing something. That's a very parasympathetic, dominance, and it's never gone away. So anyway, we have tests for all those things, and I don't pick one. That's silly. That's you start focusing on one thing, and it won't work. We outperform that system of treating specifics using our health building. Every cell, tissue, organ, and system is affected positively. And so we call it, don't treat things specifically, treat everything non-specifically.
I think that's a huge thing. Treat everything non-specifically, because people go see, as I did, many practitioners treating one thing at a time and not working on the whole thing. And then you end up wasting years of your life trying to figure out what's wrong and why are you not feeling your best.
Yeah, I agree completely. Most physicians, they're specializing now. They all have their specialty. And I'm a gastroenterologist, for instance, and here's what we do. And if you say to them, yeah, but I my stomach feels a little better, but my sex life sucks. Oh, well, you need to go see an endocrinologist. So you go there and you get hormone treatment or something like that. And then you say, but I'm kind of have this anxiety all the time, or whatever, some other symptom. Oh, well, you need to go see the neurologist. So they're each one treating something specifically. We don't do that. Don't treat that one thing, treat everything non-specifically. We will outperform that other system.
And where can people learn more? I'll put links to FDN practitioners if they want to find someone near them. And myself.
Our link is.
I'll put the links in the show notes so people can find
just
more.
Put them in. Put it there.
And then you're speaking at lots of events all the time, so people going to conferences can hear you speak more about the hidden stressors and
we have a show we do. It's like it's a big webinar with special guests every first Saturday, all during the week. That's for everybody. I do attend a lot of events and do webinars and things like that. I'm on a lot of people's podcasts like this one, which I enjoy very, very much. But otherwise, you sign up for our program, and that's when the flow happens. That's when you get a lot of engagement with the community, and it has tremendous value. That's my theme for this year is value, community, which is growing and developing, and the peer support's amazing, and engagement. So we keep you engaged. So, we don't want anyone buying our course and not doing it.
Yeah.
You'll get whipped.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. People need to look into this, as I have my mission to help other people avoid going through what I did by being preventative, being a health optimizer, taking ownership of our health, because just because you exercise doesn't mean you're actually making yourself fit and healthy from the inside out. So taking action now before you're broken, burned out, and can't do anything. It's a really good precautions. Take action. So thank you, Reed, for your time and your information. I'll put more stuff in the show notes and people can learn more if they want to become an FDN practitioner or just join to learn more of the webinars and all the educational events we have.
Yep. Okay, perfect.